Good morning, everybody. Uh, at the outset, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to share some of my ideas pertaining to the theme of the conference. Really, it's a very different topic that I'm going to deal with, discussing death for healthy aging in global perspective. I think you will be having a good concept going through this presentation. And this is the place from where I belong, the land of Sita. This is our university where I worked for long 40 years, and I just superannuated the previous year in March. And now I would like to focus on the primary objectives that I have set for sharing with you. The first one is to elucidate various life conditions in late age, raising morbidity and mortality. Yes, it is very important to focus on this dimension, and then discussing gerontological relevance of death for healthy aging. Exactly, this is the prime concept that I want to focus upon, that we need to learn that, we need to understand death for ensuring a healthy aging of our aging population. Thirdly, it is equally important as I perceive to promote the role of aging biology teaching in increasing the health span. So focusing on these three areas, I will be moving forward and sharing my concept with you all. So you see that the life and death are the two extremes of our survival. And today, amidst life-oriented presentations, mind is seemingly death-oriented, with high concern for minimal disabilities till the end of life. It is to be taken into account that how we take death. Death is very unpleasant and unceremonious to all of us. Death is horrifying and painful. Death is imposing lifelessness. So the picture that is in our mind, that how death is, we all are common on these perceptions that how we take death in our minds. Now, we see that the life and death are the 2 points of this, 2 sides of the same coin. I'm just quoting a line by Woody Allen, which is depicting fear of death. Although he is denying the death fear, he quotes, "I'm not afraid of death. I just don't want to be there when it happens." So the quote is just emphasizing the fact that all of us are worried and anxiety to talk about it, to discuss about it. And the same is the case with the Allen. It is also to be noted that in layman terms, death means taking away of the soul from the physical body. It is often believed that death represents the cutoff point where life ends and the unknown begins. Really, it is a very hazy area where we all are concerned. What happens after death? Mythological beliefs say different stories about the conditions of life after a person dies. But we have not to move towards those areas of discussion. What happens after death, whether the person is going to heaven or going to hell. But we, as students of aging biology, have to talk towards the different orientation, and that I'm just taking you to that arena. So we all understand that the scientific facts about death is very clear and well proven. We find that the first event is the post-gestation birth of neonate with maximized physiological reserve. When a baby is born, we see that it has got very high potency to grow, to learn, and then we see that there is start of progressive aging. By and by, the neonate turns into an adult. And this is the phase of maturational growth and development through childhood, through adolescence. The adulthood stage is acquired. And this is the part of life, which is the best part of life, where we are at our best physiologically, and we have all the responsibilities of life to accomplish during this phase of life, which is achieved by way of progressive aging. And thirdly, what I observe that senescence mediated pathophysiologic perturbations arise invariably. And in such a situation, the inescapable biological death occurs. So this is the scenario in the life of every organism: birth, progression, and then senescence, degeneration, and culminating into the death of the individual organism. So all the organisms have the same story. And so we understand that the aging is universal. It is not that some organisms, creatures age and others do not age, they do not die. So this is the truth that we all understand. Now, let us talk about why do we die. It is important to learn that why death occurs, why we have to die. So death makes room for young generation by way of elimination of old generations. If death does not take away people who have acquired the old age, there will be no space for the young generation to come and take this show. Human longevity is genetically programmed, and humans seldom survive beyond maximum lifespan of 115 to 120 years. So this is again a biological programming that an individual has to die out having lived his life. Death does maintain ecological balance and replenishes natural resources. So it's hard to realize, understand, and feel, but it is true that when an individual dies, his physical remains are destroyed. And by way of this destruction, the biomolecules are again returned to the natural resources, which is again picked up for the generation of new life forms. So this is the crux of our understanding in our biological science, and that I'm just placing here before you. Nature grants reproductive competence to adults for fulfilling biological obligation of species continuity. So if we see from the natural perspective, we will realize that nature does not be happy when a baby cries, does not be sad when a person dies, but rather it has a program with it. It is ensuring that a species, individuals of a species should acquire reproductive competence so that the species should accomplish the biological task to generate offsprings so that the species continue. So this is what we observe. And with that plan, life and death are running in a cycle. And again, it is to be noted that natural selection force is mechanical and executes birth and death without any differentiation, without any feeling. And because if natural selection becomes emotional, like we people on the demise of our near and dear ones at any age, it will not be able to accomplish the task ahead. So it is seemingly mechanized and executes actions irrespective of the weakness or any favor or any sympathy for a particular individual or a particular species. This is what we observe in natural system. Now I'm turning to a different dimension. What are the visible death steps? Systemic lapses, failure in the system is the first step. And what we see that with the advancing age, the loss of structure is noticed, and it eventually leads to loss of function. So functional disabilities are creeping up by and by, and then it is culminating in the cessation of biological functions. By and by, all the biological functions are meeting to a point when they do not act properly. They show so many handicaps, and this is the point when the death occurs. So biologically, we see that these are the three consecutive steps in the life of every organism, that systemic lapses leads to cessation of biological functions, and it leads to death. So as a student of science, I don't perceive any role of any superpower in modulating the life processes. It is a very mechanized, very mechanical, scientifically proven sequence that we all understand. But I am not saying that there cannot be another explanation. Other explanations are out of question, out of way. They may be true, there may be some fact, but from my approach, from our approach, it is very convincing that these are the visible that steps that I have narrated before you all. Now, to me, the premature deaths is the highest concern. And I shouldn't say me, it is our greatest concern. We all get upset when we hear about stillbirths in the family, in the society, because we see that a baby has not seen the light of the world and it has died. So this is a very painful condition that we all observe in our society. Then we see the infant deaths. It is again equally painful that infant deaths are upsets the person, the mother, the father, and the entire family. We all are, when whoever hears about such a demise, he gets upset for a pretty long time. Then childhood deaths. It is again a source of unending pain. Then we have adolescent deaths. Death of individual in this growing age, rising phase of life is again a painful condition. Then I also want to quote the death in prime youth is also a high burden on the father, on the shoulder of the father, and on the soldiers of the family, and all who hear about such deaths which are taking place in the society, the point of agony and death in the middle age, which is very frequent in the present time. It is equally disheartening. What we see that when a person ages and attains an old age, he dies a natural death, people feel grief, but they realize that he had attained a good age, he had lived a good life, and so his death makes us upset. But we again feel that he had relief from his worldly problems and he has got a good place. But when these kind of premature deaths occur and we observe such deaths here and there, it all pains us. Now, I'm taking you to a different story, that is life expectancy of men and women of some of the countries. This small table will help you understand and realize the fact that the human beings at the moment are having a lifespan between 81.2 years to 66.5 years for men, and likewise a little bit higher, 85.3 to 72.7. What it says, this tells us that women have higher longevity than men. There may be many more interpretations that why women live longer and why men die younger. Again, there is a question that when nature has provided us a maximum lifespan of, say, 120 years, why this life expectancy is in this ratio? How to promote it? This global conference on longevity is expected to find out some clues to enhance human longevity. And I think it is very pertinent to talk about the increment in the health span is in our present day discussion. And I think the outcome of the conference will definitely give some positive inputs. Now I am bringing to you the global age-wise death trends. Again, here we can visualize that deaths in 70 plus year old is maximized. And again, 50 to 69 years old group is also having many more deaths. It is depicting that death risks are increasing with age. People in higher age segments are having many more morbidities and greater mortality. And this is the harsh truth. And we are all to work for this group. How to minimize, how to reduce the handicaps, the physical and mental handicaps. Yesterday, I was listening to a paper on Alzheimer's, and I could know that there is a lot of information, but we are not availing it. We are not getting it. And that's why we are not able to tune our lifestyle accordingly. So this is very much important in this perspective that if we are concerned for the elderly wellness, we will have to plan some remedial measures to improve the life conditions, to improve the quality of life by some means so that people may live happily with good health till late age. Now, let me permit to bring to this slide, which is just focusing on causes of human deaths. And of course, the slide has been presented on the basis of Global Statistics 2019. It is to be pointed out that the chart is depicting 74% deaths from non-communicable diseases and 14% deaths from infectious diseases, meaning thereby the risk of death from non-communicable or lifestyle diseases is greater as compared to infectious diseases. We find that science is controlling the infectious diseases, and there are chances that it will be minimized in time to come. But this part, the major part of death, which is caused by lifestyle conditions, metabolic conditions, has to be prioritized, and it is in our hand. It is in our control that we can minimize this part. And I think the aging biologists and the geriatricians have to take a big role, big lead. In this backdrop, I'm just bringing to you all that why do we need death awareness? I am just telling that people should be taught about the conditions of life. Exactly, knowledge of the mechanism of aging and death would alone help us appreciate the role of balanced diet and adequate physical activity for normal growth and development. We all grow, we all move in our life, but we are not taking into consideration that how we have to ensure our normal growth and development. And we have already in our literature, in our ancient sayings, that we should be careful about our diet. We should take balanced diet. We should maintain our energy budget, and we should have good exercises. We should have adequate physical activity. But it is like we ignore all these things. And I think if the people are imbibed with the knowledge of mechanism of aging and death, they will at least realize that no, they shouldn't ignore these things and they should be very much careful. And that's why I find that implications of ignorance of death process is ultimately leading to onset of dreadful obesity, the mastermind of majority of age-associated disabilities, leading to loss of functions and premature deaths. So I am concerned very much for the premature deaths. And we find that obesity is bringing the premature deaths to our doorstep. And it is rather preponed. So if we know that what are the enemies of good life conditions, what are the conditions for health span, this is one of the important things that I want to bring to the minds of the people, that we have to learn about the death process. We have to learn about the aging process properly, so that we should realize and understand why we need such information. Why should we be careful about our diet? Why should we be careful our physical activity to say goodbye to obesity, to keep our body weight within normal limit? Now, it is mentioned that prerequisites of healthy long life, in my mind, refrainment from sedentary living, junk food, and toxic addictions are equally important if we really want to enhance the health span, if we really wish to prolong our life. We shall have to take a resolve for just give up sedentary lifestyle. And the present fashion of eating has just made us at the, you can say, state of obesity. We are just not eating for our body. We are eating our taste. The tongue has made us helpless. We are just moving to the fast food without thinking that it is damaging us. Many more people are accustomed to toxic addictions. So it is well known that the use of tobacco, alcohol, and other toxic addictions are very much harmful to us. So these things are to be noted down with mind, and we have to prevent our youngsters, middle-aged persons, even old-aged persons to refrain from all these things if they want to live long, if they want to live a happy life till late age. So now at the last leg of my discussion, I'm just focusing on the importance of aging biology teaching. Really, in my mind, teaching of aging biology is the need of the hour. This is important with a view to educate the aging population about aging and death. We must undertake teaching of aging biology in schools and colleges. Generation of sensitized youth with training in age care can ensure elderly living with dignity. And healthy aging is possible by regulated diet and healthy lifestyle, doing away with risk of premature death. And disease-free natural death after prolonged lifespan of good health and happiness is quite possible. So we need not be frightened. We need not be, can say, in panic. We can achieve a healthy long life. We can have normal death. We can have a very pleasant life, but we shall have to take these steps as I feel necessary, that we need to teach our university students, college students, and school students about the aging science. And if they are taught these things very carefully, I think they will understand how they have to live, how they have to grow. And in this backdrop, again, I wish to say that in our university, where I worked as director of the Institute of Gender and Geriatrics, we introduced two courses. One 6-month certificate course in gender technology, which is being taught even today. And another was the PG diploma in geriatric care of 1 year duration. So what I want to say, that this is being done at tertiary level education. This should be imbibed from the school stage, so that our young generation should be very caring, respectful to the old generation. Today we talk about the intergenerational conflict, elderly abuse, So these things will be minimized if we are uh, taking a resolve to undertake this kind of education, this kind of additional learning modules in our curriculum. And it is my belief that this will change their mindset. They will learn many more things. And now the take home message that I wish to say is age well and sin as well. And in my mind, these are the three important sets of suggestions that can make us happier and in a very good state of mind. Eat healthy, hydrate properly, breathe adequately, be polite and caring, be kind and cool, be positive and dream chaser, make friends from all age groups, manage stress, and enjoy every moment of life. Let me halt for a moment at this point of time. I have been a student of life science, animal science, and when I just took up these courses, and I worked on the human longevity and aging dimension, I could we evolved the syllabi. I could know that biological aging is one perspective, clinical aging is another perspective. We psychological aging and social aging are equally important. So today I am seeing a human as an entity whose all these four dimensions are equally important. So today, for me, human beings are not a research subject only. I have carried out so many researches on human subjects, and besides laboratory models. But today, I feel that if we are wanting to make the human population happier and healthier, we have to be taking these tips for granted, and this will definitely help us to uh, relish in time to come. And with these words, I would like to close my discussion, and thank you very much for your patient hearing and for your, can say, elderly concern. I hope that you must have received what I wanted to communicate. Thank you again. And I would be happy if I get any suggestions, any tips, any queries from your side. Thank you.